Hello and welcome to Saturday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, and an absolutely extraordinary sounding puzzle for you today. It's called Limbo, and it's by Testarossa, who's appeared on the channel many times before. Brilliant setter. But what they've come up with here it's absolutely ridiculous. This grid, it looks like a Sudoku grid. It is in fact 4 logic problems in one puzzle. So there's a Shikaku. Don't worry if you don't know what these logic problems are. I'm going to explain it all. There is we do a Shikaku in the grid, then we do a starbattle in the grid, then we do a masyu in the grid, and then finally there is a killer Sudoku to solve. And they're sequential. So the idea is you do one, then you do the other, then you do... It's only got 3 stars out of 5 for difficulty, but I have no idea that... The incredible thing about this is that the rules for each sort of puzzle are normal rules. So it's not been, Testarossa hasn't had to shoehorn in strange rules to create this puzzle. It's absolutely incredible. It's been recommended to us a lot, well, for good reason by the sounds of it. And yeah, we'll have a look at this in a moment or two's time. I don't have much news for you today. I've got a couple of birthdays to do, but the main news... The main thing of interest to bring to your attention is that on Monday, which is the 1st of April, and this is not an April Fool, we do have a James Bond themed Sudoku hunt incoming for you over on Patreon. We're looking forward very much to the reactions to this. This is a bit of a teaser. The puzzles appear to have been set by a group of nefarious characters, including people like Julius. He's set one. So what I can't remember what we called the cat. It was something like what was it? I can't remember. It was something like unquestionably nervous cat. Sorry, totally normal cat for doing that, but we thought it was funny. Anyway, that's coming. New competition. 1st of April, look out for it. Now, what else did I need to tell you? Birthdays. Let's do the birthdays. So, Naomi, you have turned 23 today. And I know this because your dad, who is an enormous part of the Sudoku scene, Fool on Hill, aka Mark, wrote in and told us. So, Naomi, I think you're back from university at the moment, at home for Easter. I hope you have a great day. I'm not sure what your favourite chocolate cake is, but I presume your favourite cake is, I presume it's chocolate. Anyway, Naomi, many happy returns. Next, Cheyenne, 28 today, and I know this because your fiance Ash wrote to us. Now, Ash claimed, I'm sure it's true, that he has watched just about every Sudoku video since the pandemic started. Isn't that incredible? And Cheyenne, I understand that you are not a fan of chocolate cake and prefer lemon drizzle. Well, I can tell you that lemon drizzle is just about an acceptable alternative to chocolate cake. Chocolate cake, coffee cake is fine if there's a lot of icing. Lemon drizzle cake, also fine, providing that when it says drizzle, it really means, great gallons of icing. But Cheyenne, I hope you have a brilliant birthday today. And then finally, Cine recently solved their first puzzle on the channel, which was Icy Fruits Solver There's a Fly on My Sudoku. Not an easy puzzle to start with. Believe it, if that's your first solve, Cine, that is very good. And it's Cine's cat's 6-year-old birthday. Well, the cat's 6 years old today. Let me show you a picture of Ozzy, whose birthday it is. Ozzy looking rather sleepy there. And Cine and Cine's sister wanted to say happy birthday to Ozzy. I don't know Cine's sister's name, I'm afraid. But anyway, Ozzy the cat, many happy returns. I doubt you'll be having chocolate cake. Probably not wise. But whatever the cat equivalent is, I hope you get that and have a good day. And that's all the news. So let me read you the rules of this remarkable puzzle. Now, what I did was, because I read the rules before I turned on the webcam, I thought it might be good if I could show you an example. And so I went to the internet and snipped a load of. If I move this in now, is this going to? Oh, it's going to shrink it. Bobbins. I don't want to shrink it. I still need to be able to read the rules. Oh, this has been a bit of a shank, I'm afraid. Okay, we'll have to come back to this in a moment. Let me read you the rules and then we can go on from there. So our first job is to place Shikaku in the grid. Now, Shikaku is one of my favourite logic problems. Logic problem invented by the Japanese logic company Nikoli. Really the founders of so much that is great in the world of variant puzzles. And Shikaku is very simple. All we have to do is divide the grid into rectangles or squares. I think technically a square is a subset of the rectangle, but rectangles or squares, and each piece must contain exactly one digit, and that digit shows its area. So let me think, can I see anything with an ambiguity? Yes. Let's look at this 8. So this 8, it could be a rectangle that looks like that, or it could be a rectangle that looks like that, or it could be a rectangle that looks like that. But that 8 would have to be one of those things. So can we have any square pieces that I can see? 4s. 4s could be square, couldn't they? That 4 could be like that, but it could be, this 4 could be a lot of things. It could be vertical like that, horizontal like this. It could be squares in a variety of different orientations as well. So that's Shikaku. So that's our first job. Then, having done that, we need to place starbattle in the grid. And to do that, we need to place stars into the grid so that each Shikaku rectangle/square has 1 star in it, and each row, column and 3x3 box of the grid has 2 stars in it. And stars can't be adjacent even diagonally. So I'll explain what that means by reference to the examples in a moment or two. Then we have to play masyu. Now I can tell you that the masyu rules here are standard, but this is the one part of the puzzle that makes me a little bit nervous. If you're a newcomer to the world of variant Sudoku, or indeed logic problems like the ones we cover on the channel, I think masyu is always, it's one of the harder loop puzzles to get your head around the rules. Once you understand the rules, you can whiz through masyu puzzles really quickly. But if you can't internalize the rules, it can seem a bit of a strange combination. So anyway, what we have to do, having done the star battle, is that we treat the stars from the star battle as masyu circles. And don't worry, I'm going to explain. I've got a diagram to show you what masyu is in a minute. If it has a digit in the same cell, it is a black circle. If not, it's a white circle. And we need to draw a single non-branching, non-intersecting loop. The loop should pass through all the circles in such a way that the white circles must be passed through in a straight line, i.e. you don't turn on top of a white circle, and the loop must turn in the cell preceding that white circle or the next cell. And black circles must be turned on, and the loop must travel straight through the next and the previous cell. So we're going to look at an example of that in a minute. Having done all those things, we then play killer Sudoku. It then says normal Sudoku rules apply. Groups of cells not visited by the masyu loop act as killer cages, and those groups and killer cages already drawn in the grid, that must be those, must all sum to the same total. Okay, so we're going to have to work something out from there. Right, let me show you my example again, and let us try and understand this. I'll make this as big as possible. So the Shikaku grid is the top one, and you can see here that this is the starting position. The 9 is interesting because 9 either has to be a strip of 9 cells in a line, or it's got to be a 3x3, and you can see it's the only way of fitting it into this grid is as a 3x3. And you can almost, certainly if you've done any Shikaku before, you can visualize the solution to that in probably 2 seconds. But that's our first job. Now the second set of puzzles here is a star battle. So the left-hand one is the blank star battle, where we have to put two stars in every row, in every column, and in every region, such that the stars do not touch one another, even diagonally. So if you stare at the finished grid here, you can see that that is indeed achieved. And we'll talk about some of the techniques that will allow us to logically deduce those stars when we get to the star battle puzzle, I presume. Now, this is the complicated one. Masyu. How does this one work? Well, let's focus first of all. You can see there's a single loop drawn in the answer grid. that loop doesn't touch itself, it doesn't intersect itself, it's just a single loop. And you can see, study first the black circles. You can see on every black circle the loop has turned, and the loop has gone straight, having turned, through the cells that are next to the circle. So if we look at this where the cursor's moving here, you can see that the loop does not turn in the cells either side of this. So it doesn't, oh, will it let me draw? It won't. So it's not allowed to turn in this cell, and it's not allowed to turn in this cell. It has to carry straight on. Now let's contrast that with what happens in the white circles. In the white circles, the loop is not allowed to turn, but it must turn in at least one of the cells either side of that white circle. So let's see if we can find an example. Yeah, in fact, let's look north of this black circle here. Let's look at this circle where the cursor's moving. And you can see that the loop has passed through this position, but because it came out of the black circle and is not allowed to turn in this square, it must turn in the cell after the white circle, because if it didn't and it carried on here, this white circle wouldn't obey the rule, which says that the loop must turn in at least the cell, either the cell before or the cell after, or both. Now, I appreciate that I totally understand. Masyu is a slightly strange one, and if you haven't done a masyu before, that might seem complicated. It's very, you'll get the hang of it really easily, so don't let that put you off, please. Do have a go. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. But now I get to play. Let's get cracking. I'm looking forward to this. Shikaku is I will mention this. When Nikoli used to have the competitions, when Nikoli used to work, and there used to be new puzzles on the Nikoli website every day, and the world's fastest solvers were competing daily on the site. It was absolutely brilliant. But Shikaku was one of the things that I did occasionally win, which against the sort of opposition was actually incredible. So this 5 is a prime number, so we can't split it up into a 2 by 3 or anything like that. It's got to be 5 by 1. It can't go vertical, can it? So we can draw that 5 in straight away. This 6 has now got penned in. It must go down at least 5 like that. How do we get? No, we've got an option to get into that square, so that's not where we'll go next. Well, we'll go to this 8 next. Where does that go? That's going to have to be a 2 by 4 because it can't be an 8 by 1, and therefore it's got to sort of, whoops, oh, I was going to pick blue, but I misclicked and got yellow. That's fine. How do you get to this square now? Nothing can get to it apart from the purple up here, so that finishes the 6. Now how do you get to this square? You can't reach it from the 2, so you must get there with the 4. This 2, how do you get to this square? You can't get there with the 8. The 8 would only be 7 long. So that square must be part of the 2. Now this 8 must get here. Nothing else can reach it, so we can draw that in. This 3 is forced. Let's draw that in. This 4 is forced. We'll draw that in. Yeah, I mean, I can see how this isn't difficult at the moment. But it is rather cool, isn't it? How do we get to that square? We're going to go like that. I'll make that red as well. This 5 is totally boxed in. I should have probably started there. That 2 is totally forced. This 8 is going to have to take... It can't be an 8 by 1. So it's going to be a 2 by 4 in some orientation. So we can draw this part in. And now you can see this 6 is forced. It can't do anything other than that. So we may as well draw that in. Now the question is the colour. We'll make that purple. That forces the 8 to come out. The 2 to come down. The 3 must come down. This 3 must go up, and that 4 finishes the puzzle. So we've done the Shikaku in a matter of moments. Now, okay, well now we get to do star battle. So what I'm going to use to do this is the pen tool. So if you don't have the pen tool enabled, make sure that you click the cog icon and enable the pen tool as the top option. I always have my pen tool enabled because it allows us to do not only to draw loops, which will be useful for the masyu, but also if you click in a square, you can draw circles and X's, which are perfect for doing star battle puzzles. So what were the rules of the star battle? We had to put 2 stars, I think, into every row, column and 3x3 box, but 1 star into every Shikaku rectangle. So, okay, well, I'm going to start where my cursor is then, because in box 3, given that I must have a star in one of these 2 positions, and I must have a star in one of those positions, that's 2 stars in box 3, so I cannot have stars in any of those 3 cells. And now I must have a star, look, in this 5 somewhere, and we know it's not in the right-hand 2 cells, so there must be a star in one of those 3. Now, if there's a star in one of those 3, could there ever be a star here? No, because stars can't touch even diagonally, this would rule out all 3 of these. So we could do that, we can do that by the same logic. And there must be a second star in box 2, which must be in one of those 5 cells. So there is no star in these 2 cells on the right-hand side, or sorry, on the left-hand side of the 8 region, but on the right-hand side of box 1. So there's going to be a star in the 4 there, a star in the 3. We know it's not here, because that would rule out a star from all 3 of the places. On the 3, that would rule out a place. There must be a star in the 2. When you get, in fact we'll do this now, when you get a domino that must contain a star in a star battle, you can always go to the adjacent cells here and X them. Because if you were to put a star here, for example, you couldn't put a star in either of those cells in the 2 domino. We can do the same up here. This can't be a star, this can't be a star. So we're starting to isolate. This can't be a star, this can't be a star. So we're starting to isolate these lines. Now if we look at column 9, there must be a star in one of those positions. That's going to be the second star in column 9. So this gets an X. Now there's a star in one of those 3, so that gets an X. There's a star in one of those 2, so these 2 get X'd. There's a star in one of these 3. There must be a second star in box 4, which must be in one of those 3 squares. And that's quite good, because that's going to allow us to X the remainder of this grey 8 box, rule a star out from this square, because it would stop there being a star in any of the 8 rectangle. Okay, has that done anything really good? Maybe not quite. Okay, I could have started. I think there's a few ways of doing this, but let's look at this 3 congregation here. I've got to put 2 stars into this area here. Well, a good tip for Star Battle is to ask how many stars you could ever put in a 2x2 region, and the answer is 1. If you try and put 2 stars like that, they will touch each other. So in that region, we could only ever put 1 star, so that must be a star. And then, when we do get a star, we're able to totally ring that star in terms of, because no star could touch this. And now there must be a star here, so no star can touch that. Now the 4 forces a star here, which is going to allow us to complete the star in the 2. Now there must be a star here, so there can't be a star here, or there'll be 3 stars in box 8, so there must be a star here. We must have a star in this red 4, so that's got to go there. And has that done magic or not? Nearly. There can't be a star here, because there must be a star in the 6 in one of those 3. There must be a star in one of those 2, so this is an X. We might have to do a count on a row or column, I think, to settle this. I know one of these is a star, but I'm not sure I know which one. Ah, yes I do. Look at row 7. Where's the second star coming from? It's got to be there, hasn't it? So now where's the second star in box 6? It's got to be there. That rules a star out from this square. Now look at column 7, where we've got a star in the 2 domino, and we've got a star in row 7, column 7. So this can't be a third star in the column. And now, okay, we've got our stars in row 8. I see this circle. I could have X that square, look. And then we can take this up. Column 5 has got 2 stars, 2 circles in it now. So that can't be a star, and that can't be a star. We need a second star in column 6. That must go there. So this is not a star now. And this star pokes by the diagonal rule into the 2 dominoes, so we can get this one drawn in. This is lovely. It's absolutely lovely. It's not difficult, don't get me wrong. At least it's not been difficult yet, but it's very enjoyable. Okay, so now our job is going to be to see how to just finish this off. What's going to be the way of doing that? It'd be quite good if now it, oh no, okay, I was going to say it'd be quite good if it now had a bit of a sting in the tail, but I've spotted something in column 1 where we have a circle here, and there must be a circle on this vertical line, so we can't have any more stars, can we? And that's going to place a star here. It means that this can't be a star, so there is also a star in this domino, but I think we still don't know which of those 2 squares is starred. This can't be a star now. And okay. Now, what does that mean? We've got a sort of funny lattice shape here that looks quite interesting. Yeah, oh, I see. There's a sort of wagon wheel here. So we've got 4 dominoes that are sort of connected. I don't know if you can see this, but there's 2 possible orientations. In fact, I can see how it's all going to get resolved now because we've got 2 stars in the top row. But this wagon wheel, it only has 2 possible variations, but this can't be a star. So this is going to be a star. We need a second star in row 2. That's going to be there. Now this star pokes in and pinches this square away, and now our wagon wheel, we're going to be able to finish it just by circling around it like this. I suppose we're not going to be able to check that this is correct, are we? We're just going to have to presume that our logic has got us where we need to be. So I'm just going to take a stare at this and check whether I think we've got 2 stars in every row, column, or 2 circles it's going to be in every row, column and box and Shikaku region. I mean, it looks right. So what do we do now? Now we've got to do the masyu. But do I need... I'm just wondering if I can get rid of most of the colouring now. Let me just read the rules again. Oh, I need to distinguish between circles that have digits in and circles that don't have digits in. Yeah, I don't think we need the colouring anymore though. So if I Control A the grid, will it let me delete that? I hope. Well, I'll be able to undo it if I do turn out to need it. And then I think what we do is we get rid of all the X's. And probably then we're going to have to find a way of colouring our masyu circles in different colours to distinguish them. Normally they're white and black, but oh, have I done that? Okay. Right, so you can see some of these circles have numbers in, so they need to be a different colour really. We'll make those red. Because these are going to be actually our black circles. So I will show you how I approach masyu puzzles. So there are a few things that we can do here. If we start with black circles that are on an edge, because this has to turn, it can't turn and go westwards. It would go out of the grid, so it must go like that. And then it's hitting a white circle, which it must continue through. And now, look at this white circle. We didn't turn in this position, so we must turn in this position. Otherwise, will break the rules of white circles. Now this can't go south because it can't go, it would go off the edge of the grid, because don't forget, a black circle can't turn in the circle in the cell next to it. So in fact that's drawn in. This is a white circle, so we can do that. This white circle hasn't got a turn in this position, so it must have a turn there. We can do that, any white circle on the boundary, we can just draw a line through because we're not allowed to turn in it. So we can do all that. Now what would happen if we went there? You can see that this loop end is stranded. It can never get out. So we have to turn here. Now this black circle, I know it looks red, but it's really black. Could it go south? Well, no, because then the loop would have a branch in it. And that's too naughty for words, so it must go north. Ah, and that's lovely. Now look at this one. Can this go west? No. Because if it does that, it's turned in a cell directly next to it, which it's not allowed to do. So we can do that. Now this one can't go south, or it would hit this one. So that's got to go north. The corner we can extend. We can turn that loop. Turn that loop. This can't go east because it would be turning too quickly. So in fact we get that pattern. That's got to drop down. This is a black circle, so it can't go north because it would turn too quickly. So it must go down. Okay, let's look at this cell. Because it has a choice now. It's either this orientation or this orientation. Well, I can tell you this orientation is wrong. Can you see why? If we do this, where are we joining this to? We have to join it like that. And that's closed a loop. And we're only allowed one loop, so we must do that and that. We must turn that. Oh, look. This has got to have a turn in it. It didn't have a turn here, so it must have a turn after it. So we've got to do that. We can close the loop there. I don't know whether this closes. It could close, but it doesn't necessarily have to. We've got the same point there. Look, if we did that, we're going to create a square. And that's not the idea. So we must do that. We must do that. This has got to continue now. This has got to turn. Right. This is a... oh, look. This is a black circle. So we can't do that because the black circle would have a turn in the cell next to it on the loop. So that's got to go that way. That's got to drop down. We can't close this up. It would create a small loop. So we've got to go there, there. Now, this has got to turn. Okay. Now, 1 second. Let me just work out. This can't close here. So this is a black circle, isn't it? I know it looks red, but it is a black circle. So, how does that work then? If that goes up, it's going to force that to close. Force that to close. What does that mean? Actually, this is quite complicated. Hang on a minute. Hang on a minute. Let me think. Okay, so it can't... I mean, the small points I can see, like this 2 can't do that, can it? Because that's going to strand this loop end. So we're not in that world. So at least one of this pattern is forced. Oh, okay, and that also breaks. So if we were to do that, which is another possibility, you can see now that we've got too many loop ends in the north-west of the grid. I mean, I can connect either this end or this end to this, but then I'm going to have a stranded loop end, and we don't want stranded loop ends. So that means actually what this 2 is doing is it's taking one limb either to the west or north and one limb to the south or east. So our job is just going to be to work out which of those is true. Now, how are we going to do that? Good question. I don't know yet. If this goes up, that's broken. Right. So I'm going to use the logic that we just sort of understood to now prove that this is impossible. This is actually not that trivial, because if we do this now, we know that this is either extending south. Well, it can't extend south now because this is stranded, or it's extending east. Well, if it extends east, this has to then close here. Can't go there because it would be too close. There would be a turn. So we'd have two loops. So that's no use at all. So in fact, this goes like that, which then takes us like that. This then has to close like that. This can't close here. So that must close. And now look, we must extend in this direction. And now this needs a way of getting out. So we have to turn there. Now let's just check we haven't closed the loop. No, we haven't. This great. So that's got to continue. If this went up now, this would close and we'd have an isolated path at the top. So that's got to go through there, which mustn't continue here. Otherwise we wouldn't have a turn one side of this circle. And we can't close the loop. This is beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. Good grief. That's really clever. And that's the third logic puzzle in a row embedded in this puzzle. Isn't that clever? I think that's absolutely superb. Now, what do we have to do next? We've got killer Sudoku now. We've got actual Sudoku to do. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Groups of cells not visited by the masyu loop act as killer cages. Right, so let's highlight these. Those two must be a killer cage then. Oh, and it said the ones in the grid already. These are killer cages. This loop is covering... that's... Oh, both of those. Oh, hang on. Oh, I was suddenly worried. I thought they were two one-cell regions. I was like, wouldn't they have the same total? But no, they don't, because that's a two-cell region. Okay, that's good. And that region as well, by the looks of things. So it's actually quite... as more than I thought, actually. There's one. This is quite a lot. Now, each of these individual killer cages has the same total. So, you know, if we put 5... well, that's interesting, isn't it? It's got... Doesn't this... Well, okay, I mean, I might be wrong about this, but I'm now thinking the total must be 9. I've sort of shortcut this because, in fact, do we need the masyu loop now? Well, we only need it if I've missed a killer cage. So let me just stare at this for a moment, because if I can get rid of the loop, I think it would be easier to see the numbers. Okay, I'm going to risk it. Again, I can unwind this. If this turns out to make the puzzle impossible, which would be very, very annoying, I can use backup to go back. But it seems sensible to me, at least. Yeah, this is going to be better, isn't it? Now I can get rid of all these circles. And all we have to do is keep track of these yellow cages. And I'll tell you what I think I've just deduced. These squares are a killer cage, but we know that there are single-digit totals here. So this cage can't add up to more than 9, but it can't have a 2 in it, so it can't be 5, 1, 2. So I think that has to be 5, 1, 3, which actually I know the order of, and I have to write 9 in here, and I have to write 9 in here, and I have to write 9 in here, I think. No, I was about to say something. Now I've broken the puzzle. No, oh no, I haven't. Okay, gosh, I know I just couldn't do Sudoku. Can't I get rid of these circles now as well? I think I can. The black circles are just masyu, aren't they? So let's get rid of those, because I'm going to attribute the existence of circles to the reason my brain couldn't do Sudoku when I was just looking at this 8 and this 8 and thinking the puzzle was broken. Right, these squares are 4, 9. That 4, 9 have to go in this box somewhere. There's a 9 up there, so we can put 9 here. So 9 and 4 go into the grid. 4 lives in one of these 2 squares. If this was 4, this would be 5, because they'd have to add up to 9, which looks possible. These squares are 6 and 7, which I can do. 6 goes at the top of the grid by Sudoku. I don't know how hard this Sudoku is meant to be. 1, 3, 5, that's a naked single. So far it's fine, isn't it? What about... No, that's a bad thought. Okay. Let's try 4. Well, yeah, I'll try this one. That domino adds up to 9. It's not 1, 8. It's not 3, 6. It's not 4, 5. So it is 2, 7, and I can do that. That still doesn't give me the 2 in box 8, which I was fishing for. No, that's no use. So this domino is either 4, 5, or it's 1, 8. It's one of those things. I don't think we're very sure which, though. What about that? Oh, maybe that digit. Let's check those digits. 2, 4, 5. Oh, that's a naked single. Sorry, I didn't see that. So this is a 2, 4 pair. And that digit is 7 or 5. Now, okay, apparently I can't do that. Bobbins. Alright, that's not resolved yet, I don't think. What about these squares then? 1, 2, 7. Let's fully pencil mark them. That's a 1, isn't it? That's a 7. That's a 2. Okay. So these squares are actually now 5, 7, 8, and these squares are 1, 3, and 9. And we know that's not 3, and we know that's not 9. We know these 2 add up to 9. Maybe the top row, 3, 5, 9. There's a 3 over here now. It's funny actually doing classic Sudoku. It's not often I get to do it on the channel. I suppose it had killer elements to it, but not many. Right. What should we look at now? How many 4s have I got in this grid? The answer to that is many. Really quite a lot. Yeah, there's a 4. Oh, that's big. There's a 4 here by Sudoku, and that takes care of 4, 5 as an option here. So this becomes 1, 8. There's a 4 in one of those squares. This column now has a lot of Sudoku furniture in it. And it's missing 5, 6, and 7. Where is the 5? It can't be there, and it can't be there. So there's a 5 here. And that can't be 7. So that's got to be 6, which means that's got to be 7. It's good, but it's not actually. I thought that might just break the puzzle open completely, but it hasn't done that. No, I don't think it has. All right, maybe... Oh, no. I don't know where to go. Let's try this. This is a 1. Oh, hang on. No, careful, Simon. There's already a 5 here, which I hadn't seen. So that was always a naked 9, and I didn't know that. Okay. But now I've got a 3, 5 pair in column 8 as well. And this is a 1, 8 pair. So we must have an 8 in one of these squares, which is now there. We need 2, 5, and 6, which makes that a naked single, that a naked single. These 2 squares are 5 and 2, which we can fill in. That must be a 7 in the column. That's good. It gets me an 8 here. Oh, this is really, really enjoyable. Where's 9 go in row 4? It's got to go there. 9, 1, 3 go in. 1, 8 go in. These squares, I don't know what they are. What are they? 4 and 9? Oh, 4 and 9. Okay. Oh, we can do it. We can do that. 9, 4, 4, 2. That fixes the 5, 7 because we need these to add up to 9. This is a 1, 3 pair in row 4. These squares are an 8, 5 pair. And these squares are 2, 6, 7. Which is nearly done, isn't it? 2, 7, 2, 6, or 7. What about... I don't know. Let's try those. 6, 9. Yeah, we can do that. 6 and 9. That's now not 6 anymore. So there's a 2, 7 pair here. That's become a 6. Probably all the 6s are done. Seems so. These squares are 1, 2, 7. Which is unfortunately not resolved. And okay, let's try that row. 1, 8, 9. 9 can only go here. That's C's 8, look. So that's 1. That's 3, that's 1. That's 3, that's 5. That 3 goes all the way down the grid. No 3s in the corner, but we won't hold that against Testarossa. This is quite remarkable, this puzzle. That's a 7, 8 pair. That 5 is going to help us with everything. 5, 8, 8, 7, 7, 2. 2 here, 1 here, 7 here. That is brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. Correct. 34 people. How can only 34 people have done that? That is so clever. That is so absolutely ridiculous that you can put 4 logic puzzles, all of which were good. I mean, I know the Shikaku was probably the easiest, but it was still good. It was still perfectly pleasant to solve. And then the star battle was interesting. The masyu was really, really good. It was a good puzzle. And then I thought that the use of the bits of the grid that were not on the masyu loop being killer cages that sum to the same digit was, I mean, it's just gorgeous. That's unbelievable. What is it called? Limbo. Is that something to do with limbo dancing, or is it to be in a state of limbo? I'm not sure. I will rely on the erudite comments to fill me in, and hopefully to give some love to Testarossa for coming up with an absolute banger. Loved it. Let me know in the comments how you got on. Enjoy the comments, especially when they're kind, and we'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.